Hi, and welcome to this month's AI Sovereignty News from the AI Sovereignty Industry Advisor. I'll start off with a quote here from Hanna Virkkunen, hope that's right, Executive Vice President for the European Commission for Technological Sovereignty, Security and Democracy, a prominent executive with the EU at the India AI Impact Summit. Like everybody else, many people were there. And she quotes, "Every day Europe is getting closer to becoming an AI continent." Again, showing how strong the sovereignty movement is. So we're going to cover a lot of stories across the world. And the first one has to be the Anthropic versus the US administration. So it's unusual to kind of classify this as sovereignty because Anthropic has been labeled as a supply chain risk by the US administration, particularly the Department of War. And the reason why is they have these red lines that they don't want to cross using the Claude model for autonomous lethal weaponry or mass domestic surveillance. Basically, Anthropic saying that the technology's not ready yet to do that completely autonomous. And the US administration is arguing that it's possible that the vendor, Anthropic, could disable or sabotage its operations, and that the government should have, more control, complete control over the weapon. They shouldn't have these red lines. The industry, most of the vendors have sided with Anthropic, except for perhaps OpenAI, who have offered to be the substitute for Anthropic. Another story that's getting a lot of attention is the recent announcement from Zhipu AI, the GLM-5 AI model. And what makes this model unique is that it was trained, according to the firm, completely with Huawei's Ascend chips and using the MindSpore framework. So there's no stitch of NVIDIA hardware anywhere here. And it's the first time a frontier model has been created of this level of performance, which rivals Gemini and Claude. And they also introduce a number of innovations here. And here's one called Slime, which reduces hallucinations. They're also leveraging the mixture of experts and also reinforcement learning techniques from DeepSeek. So if we were actually to compare price performance, I'm sure the NVIDIA CUDA combination would certainly perform better, but this is a start. It proves that an alternate framework to CUDA is possible. And if you've been around for a while and tried alternate frameworks, they really perform poorly out there. This is kind of the first one that is viable, that can produce a first-class model. So we'll be watching for how well this gets adopted. And I mentioned before, the India AI Impact Summit was one of the biggest conferences in the past 30 days. And anybody and everybody in AI was there. And India, if you interviewed their leaders, would say, hey, they're making the transition from mere consumers to active owners of their AI fate here. And so here's just some of the announcements was they're going to focus on sovereign AI models. They're going to make tools accessible in the local languages. And they're going to subsidize access to GPUs here. So they're buying 20,000 more chips, NVIDIA chips. And you even get a greater discount or subsidy if you're going to build AI models. And they're also introducing a governance program, which will be the basis of their sovereign AI strategy as well. On the UK, they've announced a £500 million fund, and this will fund compute infrastructure, as well as specific, as they call it, sovereign critical domains, where they have a competitive advantage, which includes biotech, cybersecurity, fintech, and quantum AI integration. Also, the fund, it's an example of state-led capitalism. We've seen that in certain parts of the world. They're being very selective of what gets funded. So it's not a free-for-all and they're funding every small startup. They want to focus on those small set of companies that they believe will be the next unicorns or firms with over $1 billion in valuation. In Japan, Fujitsu Group is starting to develop sovereign AI servers. The first wave of servers are going to come out. They're going to co-manufacture with Supermicro. And then later in the fiscal year, they're going to introduce a new processor, the Fujitsu Monica processor, 2 nanometers. So that's impressive, getting so small there. And also what they're doing is having that made in Japan label. Of course, they're positioning it for domestic production here, but they're also following all the EU regulations, and they want to position their servers as an alternative to the US-based hyperscalers. NVIDIA and Palanitir was just a few weeks ago announced a joint announcement that they're building a sovereign AI operating system reference architecture. Basically, they're optimizing performance of their 2 platforms, hardware and software. It's a turnkey solution. It's really going to be an on-prem solution and an alternative to cloud-based solutions. And if you've been following this combination, if you're in the defense or departments around the world, you'll know that they have, let's say, a high market share, high usage of these 2 products together. Another story from the EU is this Frontier AI Grand Challenge. And what the winner gets, it just opened up. I think they're going to close entries in April. And the winner will get 2.5% of the entire Euro HPC network. I think at last count it's 14 supercomputers there. And it includes Jupiter, Germany's first exascale system. There's a new system in France. Many speculate too that it will focus on green energy. So you'll get access to Lumi from Finland and again Jupiter from Germany. So we'll see that. And again, they're funding this to have an organization develop a frontier model that is sizable, minimum capacity of 400 billion parameters. So they want a model that can be used and shared because it's going to be open weights with other EU members as an alternative to the existing traditional closed source hyperscalers models. And announcement from GTC. If you went to the GTC conference, I attended virtually. It was almost kind of hard to find hardware announcements. I mean, there were some, but I found that there was lots of software. I was talking to my colleagues, there was lots of focus on software. And one of the announcements was this coalition of 8 members here. And I list them over to the right here. Each one of these players, Mistral for the large language model, Perplexity for search, LangChain for agentic reasoning, Savram for linguistic sovereignty, Thinking Machines for security, Cursor for developers, Black Forest for multimodal models, Reflection for systems reliability. They create this open source stack, an alternative to the closed source stack from hyperscalers and other vendors. And to me, it's like they want to be the first point of contact. If you can reduce the cost of all those layers, you deal directly with NVIDIA. So we'll be watching to see the adoption of this new open source stack. And that's it for this month's key stories. Stay tuned, and if you need to contact us to get more information or would like us to speak on sovereign AI, please give us a shout. Thanks, and talk to you again soon.